This is Breaking MedTech. I am Ryan. This is Cope. He just gave me a thumbs up, so I think I'm doing good. Today, we're going to talk about small medical device companies and founders at these companies positioning themselves as a thought leader, because the problem that you have is you don't have credibility most of the time.
Exactly. You don't really have a name brand. People don't really know you. They don't know your company. They don't know your product. And the number one thing that you need to establish is credibility. And how do you
Yeah.
do that? Well, oftentimes you should establish yourself as a subject matter expert or domain expert, or Ryan probably knows 5 different terms for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Thought
let's
leader.
let's be honest. Cope and I don't love the term thought leader, just because it gets thrown around a lot of like I'm a thought leader. So
Right.
and I think it's a lot easier today to position yourself as like a domain expert or a thought leader, or whatever you want to call it, than it was a while ago. Just because you can have a
10 years
bigger
ago, yeah.
you can have a bigger reach, right? So the realistic fact is that if you're a small medical device company, even if you're started by somebody who is a world renowned, like wasn't the guy who started NuVasive? He was a world renowned surgeon when right
Well, yeah.
when he started
Yeah.
NuVasive.
And then the leadership they brought in were very, very, very credible in the spine community. So you look at and you can say to somebody, "Hey, you may never have heard of this company, but here's the people running it."
Yeah,
And people are like, "Oh, wow, I didn't. Wow, they're involved."
yeah.
Credibility, right?
And that's credibility, and it's like, but in the like that's a very unique specific example, because like that's a win. Not every company has the world class, world renowned surgeon behind them. Not every company can go pull, this person scaled this company from here to here. This was, they were big. Like, it's just not the case. I would say that 90% of the time, or probably 99% of the time, these companies are started by, I'll give you some examples of just companies that I've talked to recently, right? A bunch of college kids who have developed something that's really cool, but like they don't have any credibility in the space. Somebody who's worked in sterile processing for 10 years and developed something that helps peri-op, but has no real credibility in the space. There's just, I can give you example over example over example of people who have made devices that actually work, help things, made software, made things that like benefit, but they don't have extensive background in the industry that's going to give them instant credibility.
Right. Well, using your last example there, I know who you're talking about. She has credibility to the people who know her,
Yeah.
but she has no name brand and no larger scale awareness. So when 99% of the places she walks into, people are like, "I don't know who you are," which, but she's very smart. She's very much an expert on it, and so this is kind of what we're talking about: is when you position yourself as a subject matter expert or a domain expert, or a thought leader in it. You need to be able to do it when people don't know who you are, and you do that by opening your mouth and talking, or they've read things you've written, and that's how they sort of know who you are. That's step one, right? So, am I hitting this right? That's the way I think about it.
You know what's funny? I was actually not talking about her, but she fits that
Oh,
mold
you're talking about somebody else?
I was talking about the other person that I told you about. Yeah. So,
Yes, we talk to a lot of small med device companies.
A lot of single founder companies. So,
well, let me argue with you, Ryan. I think a lot of people struggle to say they think they're domain experts, but they don't want to say it, or they're uncomfortable, or in some cases they don't believe that they're subject matter experts. They have the imposter syndrome. They're uncomfortable, right? Being called that. People say things to me, and I'm like, I'm still sort of like, yeah, come on, we all have that. If you don't, you're a
narcissist. Yeah.
Right. So if you don't have that, anyway, so you follow me. So when we talk to people about this, here's one thing that I hear. I even wrote it down. Is a lot of times, if you're uncomfortable thinking of yourself as a domain expert, perhaps you want to know the domain expert. So let's use an example of somebody who wants to know GI doctors, right? And they know a lot about GI, but they're a rep or they're a director of marketing or whatever. What would you suggest to them so that they could become an expert in knowing the experts?
Yeah. So I think a good marketing play for this would be like, there's two approaches. You have the one where you legitimately are an expert. And if you're in health tech or med tech or whatever you want to call it, like who are the actual domain experts? They're the clinicians, whether they're a nurse or a sterile processing department manager or a like those are the people who can like legitimately sit there, have years of experience and they can just roll stuff off the top of their head, right? I know someone who's a perioperative sterile processing expert who you and I joke around about. Like you could put her down in front of a video and she could talk nonstop for days and give valuable advice, right? That's a real thought leader. And then you have the other group that you're talking about, which is like me, okay? You, right? Like we're really good at talking about sales and marketing, but like if somebody put me down as like, Ryan, we developed this thing. We want you to be the CEO of this company. You're the leader. You're the person. What are you going to do? You know what I would go do? Personally,
talk to a bunch of CEOs.
I go talk to a bunch of CEOs. No, I would go if I'm selling into like cardiothoracic, right? Somebody was like, you're going to be the CEO of a cardiothoracic company. Like my play would be like, well, we're going to go out and we're going to talk to as many cardiothoracic surgeons and try to go like the old school sales way. Cause I don't hate the old school sales way. That's a way to do it, right? You can only hit so many people though at that time. And then in the meantime, I would probably start a video series or a podcast or an interview series where I go and study a lot about cardiothoracic surgery. I'm never going to become a surgeon. It's just not happening at this point, okay? But what I can do then is I'm going to interview a bunch of cardiothoracic surgeons, and I'm going to position my company as the experts or the thought leaders or on the cutting edge of whatever niche I'm trying to go, whatever category I'm trying to go after, whatever niche market I'm going to establish. We're going to write a white paper that positions ourselves as that. We're going to like everything that we're doing is building around this thought process that we're a thought leader, and I become what I like to call a curator. So you're either a creator or a curator. And if you're a curator, you're just utilizing your network around you and you're using that network to amplify your reach. And for me, where I'm not a cardiothoracic surgeon, I'm going to go and talk to cardiothoracic surgeons about problems that they have or interesting cases or things and become like the number one. I was going to say source of truth. I listened to too much Omar. I want to become the number one source of knowledge for cardiothoracic. Like that's what I'm going to do. That's my goal from a marketing standpoint.
So it's funny. I don't think you started that as a thought leader. You started that as trying to be a subject matter expert and have expertise so that I could sit there and say, hey, well, listen, I don't do cardiothoracic surgery, but when I talked to 5 DeBakey fellows, here's what they were telling me, right? And then as I learn, I start to become the voice of truth.
Yeah.
Because I hear this and I understand it, and now I become knowledgeable. I may not be and this is, I think, another, but I like that. That's interesting. The other thing I would say is like, people think, oh, you're the subject matter expert, let's call it. Well, I'm not the.
No, I'm a subject matter.
expert. That doesn't mean there aren't others out there. That doesn't mean you're number one. But like, and I think that's what people automatically default to when they hear this is like, well, wait. I know people that are way smarter than me. Yeah, me too. Right? Like, I know plenty that are smarter than me. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than them, but I am saying there's very few people in the world who know what I do. There may be better ways, but I know what I'm talking about because I do this or know this or read this or study this every day, right? And I don't have to be number one. I have to be an expert, though. It's different. That is one of the things I hear from people who are like, well, I mean, that guy over there is really smart. Like, yeah, he is. So are you.
There's always going to be someone who is smarter than you. So if your concept is that I can't talk about something or do something because I'm not the smartest, like, well, you're never going to do anything, right? And I would almost go like, let's turn it like 90 degrees and go like, don't think about it as putting out don't position yourself as the smartest. Like my goal would be like, I'm going to put out, again, we'll do the cardiothoracic thing of like, how do you establish yourself as thought leaders in the space and the category leader and everything, like, is we're going to put out the best content. So if like you're talking from like a marketing standpoint, we're going to put out the best content. Or if you want to make sure that your sales reps are the most like equipped to go out and talk about things of like your company as a whole is positioned as as like experts or whatever it is. A really good example would be, they're now owned by Stryker, but France, we're just going to keep bringing up French companies, or France in general. Tournier, right? I don't know if you know this about Tournier. Before Tournier was acquired by Stryker, if you were to become a Tournier rep, and I know Arthrex kind of does this, you went through a year of intense training, right? To truly like a year. And I'm not talking like, here's the femur, here's the tip.
A half an hour webinar.
Like you went through intense training because what Tournier wanted was to be seen as the experts, as a company, as the experts, the thought leaders, the cat's meow in bee's knees in shoulder, right? And soft tissue, in everything shoulder. And they made sure that their reps could have intelligent conversations with surgeons about shoulders. Like that's a thought process that you have to go through. And if you're a small company, you kind of have to take that obsessive approach of going like, we need to position ourselves as thought leaders or experts or category leaders or whatever you want to go, so that when people think of reverse shoulders, they think of Tournier, right? When people think of, I don't know, like whatever it is, they should think of you. That's the end goal. Yeah. And you have to position yourself as that and work towards that. It's not a short-term thing. It doesn't happen overnight, but it also never happens if you don't start.
No, and it's funny. I like that. I think that's But when you say position yourself as, I still think people resist it because they're like, but I don't feel like I am. And here's what I've done that I think everybody should try to do. If you're in sales marketing, you should try to get a PhD in the problem you solve. You should become a domain expert.
Absolutely.
In what the problem feels like, sounds like, smells like, how bad it hurts, how much it costs, how many people hate it, why they hate it, what's the words they use. And then when you start doing that, people start looking at you like, man, do you work here? And you're like, well, no. I've listened to so many people who have this problem, and here's what they say. And I'm an expert of it. I can actually diagnose it now. And I might actually have a treatment for it. But I want to know it better than anybody because anybody can do that. So if I think that ordering a pizza is painful, and I'm going to come up, Ryan and I are going to come up with an app to make it easier. Like, I want people to go like, oh, you remember when this, and then the guy doesn't show up and it's and you can't, it's the wrong order, and you don't even, yeah, okay. Well, we solved that. And people are like, man, how often do you order pizza? I'm like, well, more than I should, but not as, not as much as you think. But I know what it feels like, and I know what it sounds like, and I know how bad the pain is. That is important. If you're an expert in that, you're a subject matter expert. And when people go, oh God, I hate ordering pizza. If they think of me in that case, great. Because I'll bet then they're looking, I wonder how Cope solves this.
I mean, you're describing Slice. But
there you go.
Yeah. Like, oh man, I couldn't order.
What'd you just do, right? I just described the problem and you thought of a company.
I thought of a company. That's the whole point.
They're the experts on the pain of ordering pizza. I didn't know they existed.
Yeah. I mean, now you're going to be able to order from your local pizzeria using an app because they don't have something. So that is the takeaway. This is going to be a shorter episode. But that's the big takeaway is like, you got to position yourself. You want to build credibility. You have to position yourself as the subject matter expert. You don't have to, it's not complicated. I can give you a bunch of plays on how to become or how to position yourself or how to amplify your voice or what to do. And if you really want, like, DM me, call me, email me. I don't care. I'll tell you how to do it.
And to do what Ryan says, I want you to listen to this, baby, in your ears. You probably are an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Start acting like one.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to be the expert, but if you are an expert, then start talking about whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you position yourself.
Yeah.
So we know we want you to position yourself as an expert, but to first do it, you have to be confident that you can be an expert, not the. That's a big difference.
Yeah, an expert.
Right, exactly. So I think, Ryan, we got a little bit better today. I think we help people. If you want to learn more about this, Ryan's a great follow on this. So follow Ryan Pistone, and he talks about this all the time. And so that's my shout out for Ryan.
Hello.
So does that help?
That helps. All right, you can do this. Hey, I believe in you.
Yeah, exactly. This has been Breaking MedTech. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.